We have spent one entire year practicing the lob every single week, sometimes twice a week, at what is considered one of the best academies in the world. And the biggest lesson wasn't how to hit it. We thought that a great lob just needed to be high and deep. But try hitting a good lob from a ball like this. It probably won't end well. So today we're gonna save you 1 year of trial and error. We're gonna show you the 2 lobs you need, where to aim them, when to use them, and the small technical details that change this shot completely for us.
So let's get into it. There are 2 types of lobs. The first one is the deep high lob, and the second one is the fast lob. They both have the same objective, but they're used in different situations. So let's start with the first one, the high lob.
The high and deep lob is the lob that we most commonly think about when we think of a lob, and it should travel more than 4 meters above the ground. A good way to visualize this is by looking at the back fence, which is the highest fence, and it is also the height of 4 meters. So if you can aim your lob a little bit higher than the high fence, that is a good reference point. But just because you want to hit a high lob doesn't necessarily mean that you should hit a high lob. A high lob requires a lot of control and accuracy, so you shouldn't attempt a high lob unless you know you can be in the correct position that will allow you to have good control and accuracy when you're hitting it. The direction of the high lob should actually be aimed towards the corners. If you're aiming the lob to the center of the court, and because the lob has such a high rebound, this allows your opponent to have an easier bajada shot. So by aiming to the corners, you're going to be putting your opponents in a more uncomfortable position, and they're going to have a lot harder of a time trying to hit a bajada. And also there's a possibility of the ball touching 2 glasses, which makes the ball drop a little bit more and also puts your opponent in a way more uncomfortable position. But height and direction mean nothing without depth. You want to aim your ball to the baseline or even further than that. Anything shorter is the advantage to your opponent and becomes dangerous for you. For example, if you receive a low ball from off the glass, you're under pressure and you don't have much time and control. That is where the fast lob comes in. It has a lower and quicker trajectory, usually around the 3 meter mark. And again, for a visual reference, you can use the fence that's right behind me, which is exactly 3 meters, to give you a good reference point. Because you're in a tighter situation, the faster and lower trajectory is actually easier to produce than a perfect high lob. It can also be a good option for somebody with a really good smash, like Alba, because it gives them less time to get underneath the ball. And here's an important difference between the two. While you normally aim the high lob to the corners, the middle can actually be a great target for the fast lob. Look for the biggest gap and send the ball as far away as possible from both opponents. And if that space isn't available, you can aim over the left shoulder of a right-sided player. This will force them to move backwards on the more awkward side of their overhead. And remember, fast does not mean short. Fast describes how the ball travels, but not where it lands. Whether the ball is high or fast, the ball still needs to land deep.
Okay, but should you even lob? Because before thinking about the technique, you have to think about where your opponents are positioned in the court. If they really approach the net, they are at the 3 meters, 4 meters height, then probably you will have space to do a lob. But if they're 1 step behind the 4 meters line, and you see that there's a lot of space in the front, then you should consider, instead of hitting a lob, hitting a chiquita instead. Because it's going to be way more effective, it's going to be less risky. Sometimes we miss the lob because we don't have enough space on the court. So consider, if the opponents are a bit more behind their usual position, hit a chiquita instead, and if not, go for the lob. And that's why the communication with your partner is super important, because sometimes you see your opponents coming forward, but then like one of them is kind of like faking, like testing, going back a bit, not sure. Then your partner can tell you, okay, this person is staying in the back. So think as your partner, as your eyes on the court, and really everything they tell you, trust what they're saying and play according. So now let's imagine that both of our opponents are by the net and that we are going to hit the lob. Then you have to ask yourself 2 questions. Where are the opponents, and how comfortable is the ball I received? If the opponents are close to the net and the ball is comfortable, there's no doubt we're going to hit a high, deep lob to the corners. If the ball that we receive, it's a bit more difficult and we're not very sure, then instead of going for a high lob, we're going to go for a fast lob. I would say start with the center because it requires less precision. So just trying to aim for far away from the racket of your opponent. So your opponent has to run and hit and not be in a comfortable position. And then if you're feeling good and your opponent doesn't have a very good smash, then you can aim for the left shoulder. So your opponent can like have to do a rulo that it doesn't have much power, so you can play with that. Now that we know about the theory of lobs, let's talk about the technique, how to hit the lob. I think the most important thing here is to try to avoid hitting the lob with your wrist. This is the most common mistake. You have to try to impact the ball as closer as you can from your body. Because if you hit the ball here, even if you want to hit with your wrist, it's very difficult. Your position doesn't allow it much. But if you hit the ball far away from your body, it can be in front or it can be on the side. From here, in order for me to hit, I don't have the strength with my arm. So I'm gonna start using my wrist in order for me to lift the ball up. But when I'm here, close to my body, usually as a good reference, you can put the racket close to your right leg if you're hitting a forehand, and to the left leg if you're hitting a backhand. From here, even if I wanna hit with my wrist, it's kind of like I don't have this enough strength. I'm forced to do all my strength with my arm and with my shoulders. So it will look something like this. So from here, I only use my arm up. I don't use my wrist. And that's key. I think once you achieve this, your lob is gonna change so much. Something else that is going to allow you to not use your wrist is putting the top of the racket down. Because if you want to hit a high lob from a regular forehand, it's way easier for you to use the wrist to just push it up. And instead, if you put your top of the racket down, that locks your wrist completely and it's going to make you to only be able to push up with your arm. The lob is a hit that a lot of the times we do it in a lazy way, so we don't move too much, but we actually need to move a lot in order for us to hit a good lob. From here, we're gonna be in position, and then from here, we're gonna just, move your legs until the ball is close to our body and it's comfortable for us to just hit up with our arms. And because the lob is a shot that doesn't require strength, it's not a powerful shot, we don't need to use our legs. Once you get into the good position, just stay down and just use your arms to bring the ball up without having to go up with your leg at the same time, because this movement will give too much power that we don't need in this shot, and it won't allow you to have as much control as when you're down here and just use your arm. And to finish with the technical aspects, the last thing I want to say about the high dip lobs is that you want to hit it when the ball is going down instead of when it's rising up. So you would receive the ball, you will let it bounce, and then when it's going down, then you will hit it. When the ball drops, it's heavier, gives you more time, and so because it's heavier, it allows you to control way more the direction. And when the ball is rising and you hit it, it's very difficult to have accuracy. So because the lob, it needs to be very accurate in order for it to be good, you always want to let it drop a bit and then hit it.
So a great reference is to have the highest point of the lob directly over the net. If the ball reaches its highest point too early, it normally falls too short. If it reaches the point too late, you risk sending it directly into the back glass. So you don't need to calculate the perfect parabola during a match, you can just use the net as your visual reference.
So by doing that, you know that guaranteed the ball is not going to go out, unless you're playing outdoors and there's wind involved. Now we're going to see what happens when the ball touches the glass. So when the ball touches the glass, usually we're going to aim for faster lobs rather than long, deep lobs to the corner. And the reason for that is because usually those balls are more difficult. Unless the ball is very easy and you have a ball here where you have time, it's a slow ball that allows you to, have good precision and aim for the corner. When we're receiving a ball that is low and that we're touching it here, if we want to aim for the corner in a deep high lob, we're going to be using the wrist so much and we're going to be using bad technique. That's going to make us hit so many short lobs in the long run. So that's why in those moments when we feel overwhelmed or that we're in a tight situation, we don't have to think more. It's going to be a fast lob. So fast lob after the glass. The technique is like a regular forehand. So now instead of putting the top down, we're going to put the top up like this, as if you're hitting a forehand. And from here, you're going to just try to hit a flat forehand and just raise your hand up after you impact the ball. So you're gonna just finish a bit higher. If you hit the forehand, you will finish here. When you hit a fast lob, you hit here. This is more of a pro tip, but it's very helpful. And is that in paddle, you always want to try to fake your shot. And so with the same preparation that the opponent thinks that you have more than one possibility. So for example, when we do the lob here before the glass, when we put the top down, we can do a lob or we can do a chiquita with the same preparation. So the opponent won't know if they will have to run back or they will have to run forward. So the same thing happens with when the ball touches the glass and we hit a lob from here. From here, we can hit just flat fast, so the opponents just have to block the ball, or we can hit a fast lob. And it's the same preparation for both. And that's what it makes the shot so effective, because you have to try to mix them both so the opponent don't know what to expect.
So if you want to remember everything from this video, remember this. With a comfortable ball, use the high lob and aim deep towards the corners. If you have a difficult ball with less time and control, go for the fast lob, attack the free spaces, or the left shoulder of a right-sided player. For whatever lob you choose, remember to stay low and avoid using your wrist. And for the high lobs, remember you want to have a close impact. And once you hit it, recover according to the quality of your shot. Because a great lob isn't necessarily a high lob, but it's the lob that leaves you in a better position than when you started. It took us over 1 year of weekly training to learn all of this. So hopefully you can start using this stuff in your next matches. We wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to our members of our channel. And what we've done is we've created a cheat sheet, basically breaking down everything that we've talked about in this video and a little bit more, so that you guys have easy access to all of the information and that it's something that you can just have in your phone and very easily look at it whenever you are questioning the lob or any of the information that you've learned here. Thank you guys again for watching, and we will see you next week.